After the
Now, as I said before in my orcs video about the greenskin race, we talked about how there's sort of an order of things that occur when orcs land on a planet, or just start to exist in a region if it's Warhammer Fantasy, which is that first there's mushrooms, then there's snotlings, and then there's usually squigs, or sometimes squigs come first and then snotlings after. But the squigs themselves are more or less the animals of the orc species, because here you got the orcs, the warriors, the thinkers, and the leaders. Then you got the goblins or Gretchen, who are just the builders, the farmers, the slaves. And then you got the everything else that isn't filled in this natural ecosystem, which is the squigs. So the squigs are served primarily as a food source, but that doesn't restrict them. There are tons of varieties of squig in the Warhammer universe. In Warhammer 40k, there is a lot of squig types, because again, this is over many planets. So that means many conditions in which squigs can mutate in variety. Warhammer Fantasy, we only know of a few. And I don't know if that's because the Warhammer 40k squigs also exist in Warhammer Fantasy, they just never said it, or if it's because Warhammer Fantasy orc population is a lot less significant than it is in Warhammer 40k. So therefore there's not enough area and there's not enough population to produce these massive mutations of squigs. There are different squigs though that do exist in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. So the squigs that do exist that we have tons of names for, well, they don't look similar at all. In fact, you will see a orc beetle type creature and you will think that is just an insect. It is not. It is actually a squig, known as a parasite eater squig. Yes, exactly as it sounds. It is a bug, more or less, that is a squig, and it looks like a spider, but what it is it eats parasites, leeches, all sorts of nasty shit, even lice. And the only way it does this is by an orc picking them up and putting a handful of these spiders onto himself. So when an orc is fighting you and you see a spider crawl out of his shirt, that is not your eyes playing tricks. That is actually a orc spider. Now, of course, it's not venomous to you and it's not going to hurt you, but it's very unsettling for me because I'm arachnophobic. Whereas you may have no problem with it. I fucking do. So, that being said, there are tons of types of squigs. The stereotypical squig that you'll most likely see is the attack squig. And the attack squig is a meatball with teeth. And the size of that meatball with teeth can vary from different situations and certain variables. Like how old is it? How much has it eaten? And also just the squig itself, like its own genetic makeup. Like, is it capable of being about as tall as a man? Half the size of a man? Or around the size of a child? And of course, it's got long fucking teeth. It has sword length teeth. Yes. I mean that too, by the way. So one bite from a squig isn't going to be some like, it's like a chihuahua, bark, No. A bite from a squig could actually tear off half your fucking torso just right off your body. Typically, though, squigs don't like to chew things, so they just swallow your asshole. But there are some interesting things about squigs I find interesting, like the fact that they're mostly used as cattle by the orcs. So orcs have actually a bit of culinary side to them. They actually have certain squigs that are considered delicacies. And they actually prepare squigs in very interesting ways. They actually turn them into like bread because, again, they're fungus. They can actually do some really interesting stuff, like taking one squig who produces a large amount of fat for whatever fucking reason, take his fat, boil it down into an oil, and then cook another piece of squig who has this really fine, succulent tenderloin, and just put it on in there. Wow, now you got this nice roast squig. Delicious. Now, the fun thing about the squigs is that not only are they attacking, but they're also the main source of really produce that the orcs have. So they can actually, there's actually a type of squig called oiler squig or oily squig. I can't remember if it was oiler or oily, but it's a squig that produces oil. And for the orcs in Warhammer 40k, they actually need that squig to power up their machines. They need it as a fuel source. And then there are other types of squigs that are meant for war, like the colossal squig, which is this massive fucking squig that will just eat whole battalions of dudes in one bite. But the problem with those squigs is that they're very hard to keep trained. Now, every squig is just about impossible to train. It's just more or less, are the orcs willing to get nipped in the ass every now and then by just owning one of these fuckers? Now, it's not because the squig nature is violent, although yes, that is the case. Most of the time, it's because the squig is too damn stupid to realize, oh yeah, I learned not to bite my master in the ass. So, the squig will forget this lesson and then proceed to bite the captain in the ass. In which case, if the orc is feeling merciful, he'll just probably club the damn squig so hard that it keels over into a concussion. If the orc isn't feeling merciful and is in a particularly bad mood that day, or just bored, he'll just turn around and kill the fucking thing. Now, for the Gretchen and the goblins, taking care of a squig is not easy. In fact, it is damn right life-threatening. We see this in Warhammer Fantasy a lot, where night goblins will try to capture squigs using this fascinating device known as a net. The problem is that a goblin is a very frail creature and very nimble. So when he picks up something that is stronger than a man, well, he better get ready for the whirlwind of teeth that he just unleashed. Because if the squig doesn't eat the fucking net and then eat the goblin that's attached to the net, he'll instead bounce around into the caves with the goblin being dragged along on his ass. And the goblin will scream the whole fucking way till the squig decides to stop running and get himself out of the fucking net. Now again, squigs aren't intelligent, they are animals of the orc species. So they don't have the intellect to really sit there and go, oh, I'm stronger than this guy, he's not a threat to me. Nah, they don't have that. Speaking about intelligence, squigs, you may think that they have like a sort of instinct or behavior, because it's kind of odd, right, that they always prefer caves and that they end up actually being well nourished because they actually find prey to eat. Yeah, that's not intentional. It's not instinct either. It's just that squigs bounce, and that's their main way of really moving. But the problem is that when a kangaroo bounces, he's looking where he's going, and he has a brain to understand, okay, water is in front of me, I shouldn't probably jump inside that. Well, a squig doesn't have that brain. So when a squig lands next to you and eats your ass, it's not that the squig was laying in wait for prey. The squig just simply bounced into a random location and you just happen to be there. That is typically the way the squigs function. They bounce in random directions, and wherever they land, that's something that they will bite. And of course, that doesn't bode well for us travelers who don't like to pay attention to the fucking road, but that bodes really well for the fucking squig. In fact, in Warhammer Fantasy, it's much like the trolls, where the trolls don't ambush you, it's just that you just happen to be there at a bad time. Or you're just as fucking stupid as the goddamn troll, which is very rare indeed. Now, besides that, though, there are squigs that are totally harmless, like the parasite eater squig. But there are squigs that are used for other purposes other than eating and attacking. And this is where it gets really interesting, and we're going to have to do this in another video. But there are musical squigs. I'm not joking. There's actually a squig that looks like a bagpipe, and what happens is a Gretchen will pick him up and blow into the squig's mouth. And this will actually produce a very interesting noise, to which he will keep playing and then keep pressing his arm along the bag squig's belly, which will change the sound of the blow. Yes, I am not joking. This is actually a thing. I don't know if this is canon anymore, but I always found squigs very interesting because they're my favorite, really, pet in the Warhammer universe. I was about to say Warhammer 40k, but really it's just Warhammer, period. There are different types of squigs, though, so don't try to put a stereotypical picture of a squig. That's why I'm showing you many, many images of different squigs. There's even one that looks like a fucking bat, as you could tell. So the squigs aren't stereotypical and they're not generic. They're actually really, really variated. So even if you see an attack squig, there's tons of variations of attack squigs. There are some attack squigs who actually do have tiny little T-Rex arms that are utterly useless, but hey, at least they have them. Then there are some attack squigs that have 6 eyeballs. Yeah, there are some squigs who just have 1 eye. So it's not easy to say what squig species is which. In fact, it's just better off just to label them all as just squigs. Because if it's not an orc and it's not a goblin, it's a squig. That's the only way that people who aren't orcs are able to really tell what kind of squig is which. Besides that, this has been Frieza700. I hope you guys enjoyed my little rants about squigs. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the different types of squigs and more specific what that squig does. Besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below what you guys want to do next as a Warhammer 40k video or Warhammer Fantasy video. Because I'm kind of getting low on ideas here. Because what I want to talk about is going to take a long, long discussion. And I'm having a hard time trying to break it down. Whereas, if you guys want like only one certain instance, I could easily do a video on that. Whereas, the generic videos I'm looking at, those could easily be like 20 minutes to an hour long video. Besides that, this has been Frieza700. I'm out. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. See you guys next time.